The Tennessee Titans need to stick and pick in the first round of the NFL draft, and I'm going to show you what it would look like with a 7-round mock draft on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's Mock Draft Monday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. It's Mock Draft Monday here on the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm going to do a live 7-round mock draft going over all of my decisions, what the Titans should do, and that starts with sticking and picking at number 7. I do not believe the Tennessee Titans should trade down, and I'm going to show you what a draft would look like if they stayed in all of their spots. Before we dive into it, I do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. And I'm diving deep into draft coverage starting this week. Obviously, we got a mock draft Monday today. Our 2024 Locked On Titans draft preview series will kick off soon, where I go position by position. We go through about 180 prospects every single year, looking at the top options, the tier 2 options, the late round options. You're not going to want to miss out on any of that. So again, get subscribed, stay subscribed to the number one Tennessee Titans podcast in the world. But kicking off, like I said, the Tennessee Titans need to stick and pick at number 7 in the NFL draft. Look, if they want to trade down with their 2nd round pick, if they want to trade down with their 4th round pick, whatever other trade down scenarios you have, I would be fully on board for those. But at number 7, the Tennessee Titans need to stay. And you're going to hear this from me consistently throughout the draft season. I've said it consistently since the end of the regular season. The Tennessee Titans should not trade down in the first round. They need to get high-end players. All right, look, I understand the Tennessee Titans need depth. The Tennessee Titans need a ton of depth on the roster. There's no doubt about it. But would you rather have 3 Bs or 1 A? For me, the Tennessee Titans right now need high-end, high-level blue-chip talent more than they need depth. The Titans need great players. Like, the Titans can have the best depth in the NFL. They don't have enough high-level blue-chip, all-pro level players to win a Super Bowl. So if you have a chance to get these players, you need to do it. I'm not expecting the Tennessee Titans to have a top 10 draft pick next year. They need to take advantage of this. If 3 quarterbacks go in the top 6, which is what we expect, which is the bare minimum here, then you're going to have one of Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. If 4 quarterbacks go, which is what people are saying now, then you get one of Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Joe Alt. You cannot pass up the opportunity to get one of those players to trade down and be able to get J.C. Latham and Troy Franklin. You know, like I would rather have Joe Alt than have those 2 players. So that is the calculus to me. And with that being said, let's dive into the mock draft. The first 6 picks played out maybe how they will play out in the NFL draft. I think this is a very likely scenario that we see here at pick number 7 for the Titans. Caleb Williams goes 1, Drake May goes 2, Jaden Daniels goes 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. goes 4, Malik Neighbors goes 5 to the Chargers, and then the Giants go with J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback. Now, if I'm the Giants, I would be taking Rome Odunze, but that's besides the point. So that leaves me with one of the big questions that a lot of people ask. Would you take Joe Alt here? Would you take Rome Odunze? Would you take Brock Bowers? And we're using Pro Football Focus's mock draft simulator, so shout out to PFF for the help there. But me, this is no doubt about it. I am the leader of the Alt cult. I am selecting Joe Alt every single time in this scenario, no doubt about it. Like, there's no question in my mind that Joe Alt is the right person to pick in the scenario. Rome Odunze is a fantastic player, in my opinion. He's a great prospect. I would love to take Rome Odunze if Joe Alt wasn't available here. Like, let's say the Giants, for some reason, took Joe Alt, or the Chargers take Joe Alt, and then the Giants take Malik Neighbors. I am fine with taking Rome Odunze. And to me, Rome Odunze is going to be a high-level number one wide receiver. And when you have two 30-year-old wide receivers, it's probably a good idea to still prioritize that position. But again, all that being said, I like Odunze. I still think wide receiver is a need for the Titans that they need to address. But there is no way in the world that I am passing up on the number one offensive tackle, who is not one of these guys who, hey, Latham has slow feet, gets beat inside. Hey, Fuanga may be somebody who needs to slide into guard, maybe not the elite level athleticism that you're looking for. You look at a guy like Olu Fashanu with the small hands and needs development as a run blocker. And Joe Alt is just really good. Joe Alt could be great. If the Titans get the best out of him, he could be great. But we know right now that Joe Alt is really good. Like, that's what we know. No question about it. Joe Alt is good. So to me, there is no doubt in my mind here. I have no hesitation whatsoever. Rome Odunze, good player. Brock Bowers, good player. But this is the ideal scenario for the Tennessee Titans to stick and pick Joe Alt. Again, Alt is giving up 1 sack in 2 years. 2 years, a 91.4 grade in 2022, a 90.7 grade in 2023. That's in 25 games, played 1,500 snaps. I mean, he's a better run blocker than Fashanu. He's a great pass blocker as well with the long arms. And look, I know that some of you guys have heard the criticism from Greg Cosell. He catches guys. He's not great striking with his hands. He does 2-hand punches instead of 1-hand punch. Those are all technique things that can be improved. Now, he's never going to be a dominant power player. He's always going to be a guy who wins with athleticism and length. But a lot of guys win that way in the NFL. And that's why Brandon Thorne, if you know about Greg Cosell, but you don't know about Brandon Thorne, you need to figure out he is like the best offensive line analysis in the NFL landscape, in my opinion. Brandon Thorne said, yeah, Greg Cosell is right about those things about Joe Alt. But those aren't bad things. That's just his style of play. He's just not a mauler with these insane power hands. He's an athlete with length who can move his feet. And you teach him a little bit of technique, and he's just going to be a mountain of a man that's unstoppable and unable to get around. So, again, I have been the leader of the alt cult all along. I continue to be the leader of the alt cult, and the opportunity to draft Joe Alt makes it impossible for me to say that the Tennessee Titans should trade down. And trading down and thinking that you're going to get Joe Alt anyway, now to me, you're just being absolutely unrealistic. So for the Titans to get their starting left tackle for the next decade, I mean, think Hopkins to Roos to Lawal. I mean, the Titans have always had very good offensive tackles. The tradition continues. You need to stick and pick at number 7. Take Joe Alt if he is available. Don't get cute here. Solve your biggest need with the best prospect of the entire offseason. I mean, there's no way that I could do anything but. But when we get into day 2 is when things get a little difficult, because what do you pick at 38? You got to wait until 106. So I'm going to go over those decisions. Let me know. Would you have taken Odunze? Would you have taken Brock Bowers instead of Joe Alt? I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of consensus on this one. So we're going to continue this Mock Draft Monday. Before we do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The sports calendar is loaded, folks, and FanDuel is making it even more exciting to get in on the action, because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use on the tourney. MLB season is kicked off. Go Reds. NBA season is heating up. Go Lakers. NHL season is getting to the playoffs as well. And there's not a lot better than the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's a lot more on FanDuel as well. So make sure that you visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. That's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Titans fans, let's continue this mock draft Monday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We just did our first round pick and took Joe Alt at number 7, solved left tackle for hopefully a decade. Now the Titans move into day 2 of the draft. I'm going to talk about my picks, talk about my decisions. Before I get into it, though, thank you again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. So diving back into the mock draft here, a tough decision for the Titans at number 38. And I will say this is going to be the toughest decision that I have to make, period, in this entire draft. You look at what are the options to the Titans here. So number one, you look at Peyton Wilson. You look at linebacker. The Titans have a major need at linebacker, and I'm not ignoring that. But there are a few things with the Titans situation and then with Peyton Wilson himself that make me decide to pass here, basically. And with Bo Nix still on the board, if the Titans could get a trade down here, again, we're sticking and picking in this mock draft. The Titans could get a trade down with Bo Nix on the board. That would be excellent. Excellent right there. But sticking and picking, Wilson, 6'4", 238 pounds, ideal length. I mean, he's got prototypical measurements for what you want in a stud linebacker. Great length, great speed, great IQ. He's got the ability to rush. I mean, he really would fit with the Tennessee Titans. But Peyton Wilson has had a ton of injuries in college, can't stay healthy. He's 24 years old, so he's an older prospect who's taken a beating, lost a lot of tread on his tires. Like, to me, I like Peyton Wilson, but he is a major risk. And again, that's the Peyton Wilson stuff. You add in that Ran Carthon has had a lot of success getting late round linebackers. I just can't make that move. I can't make that move. You look down a little more, there's a ton of cornerbacks, TJ Tampa, Mike Sanistril, Kamari Lassiter. I'm not taking cornerback. I'm not. The Titans just paid Cheeto and paid L'Jarius Sneed 2 free agent deals for 2 years. You have Roger McCreary on his rookie contract for 2 more years. You have your starting cornerbacks for the next 3 years. I'll take a cornerback later in the draft, sure. Day 7, take a dart throw on an athlete guy, maybe add one in the draft next year. Like, I'm not saying don't take cornerbacks, but it's definitely lower on the priority list. To me, the Titans have solved cornerback, so I'm out on those. And then to me, it comes to edge, because you look at wide receiver, and there are good wide receivers here. There are. I mean, Troy Franklin, Roman Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, Jermaine Butler, Keon Coleman. I know a lot of people are high on. Jalen Polk, Javon Baker. I can't take any of these guys at 38. Troy Franklin, I get the love, and I like Troy Franklin early on, but I can't take Troy Franklin at number 38 when I know the Titans just went and paid Calvin Ridley. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. If there was a better fit, like, I would like Ricky Pearsall. That would be a good fit. I would like a slot wide receiver, guy like that. But I just don't think Troy Franklin is worth the pick at 38 when there are better players available on the defensive side of the ball and with the Titans wide receiver situation. Again, if the Titans could trade down here, then I think, it would make a lot more sense. But I look at edge. That's really where I start to look for the Titans to get some value, because edge is a bigger need than people realize. And I think the Titans are definitely going to look to hit that early. Adisa Isaac, good power edge. I like Marshawn Nealand a lot. A little too high for him here. Chris Braswell, though. I talked about Braswell, I think it was last Monday after the L'Jarius Sneed trade in a mock draft. I just think Braswell is such a great fit for the Titans with their versatile defense. They're going to need linebackers like Harold Landry who can rush the passer but also drop in coverage, and Braswell can do that. Braswell also may not be the most polished pass rusher of all time. Like, he definitely is a guy who needs help with his hands. He's got a little bit of a problem getting off the line of scrimmage. That is a technical thing that he can work on. Like, to me, with the length, the strength, the explosion of a guy like Chris Braswell, like, I don't think the Titans can pass that up here at 38. I just don't think that's, again, 6'3", 250 pounds, great power, great length, strong hands. He needs to work on his pass rush moves. He needs to work on how to deploy those moves. When he just needs more polish as a pass rusher. But right now, he's going to be able to come in right away and be an early down edge while he develops those pass rush skills. Him and Arden Key together as a combination would be absolutely perfect for the Titans. So to me, I'm taking Chris Braswell, the edge rusher, at number 38 in the stick and pick mock draft. Now we're going to go to 106 for the Tennessee Titans. Another really tough decision here. I mean, there's no way around it. It's just a tough call at 106. I don't really like the value of anything the Titans can get. I mean, the top players on the board here: safety, tight end, running back, center. So I thought about the positions that the Titans really need. Number one, obviously, I would love to get a wide receiver. No wide receiver yet. And that's why I think it's so important that the Titans trade down in the second round, because a lot of the good wide receivers that I'm okay with getting go in those picks between 38 and 106. I like Malik Washington, but he's very small. Anybody else on the board here, like Rosemary Jackson, Taj Washington, Luke McCaffrey, I'm not comfortable taking those guys right now where the Titans pick at. It's just not good value to me. You keep going, you look at interior defensive line. I really stopped and looked at interior defensive line. I like Dwayne Carter, 6'3", 305 pounds, 23 years old. He's smart, he's strong, he's polished, good IQ, but he's just not a great athlete. And I think at this stage, 106, basically a top 100 pick, that's not where I want to go. And there are more names I like at that position. Honestly, I would take an undrafted free agent. We hit edge. So you look at cornerback, you could look at cornerback. I guess I understand, but I talked about why I'm not as keen on taking cornerback earlier. So to me, I'm like, all right, let's go back to the offensive side of the ball. I thought about a potential running back: Marshawn Lloyd, Estime, Braylon Allen, Garando. Like, those are good options. I agree. But with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears in tow, to me, I went back to offensive line at this point. I'm just taking the best prospect available. And to me, Cooper Beebe, the guard out of Kansas State, here on Pro Football Focus, they have him ranked 126. I think Cooper Beebe is a top 75 pick in the NFL draft. I think he's an underrated player. And I think that's somebody that, while the Titans have offensive tackle needs, they just got Cushenberry, they have Peter Skoronski at left guard, you get Joe Alt in the first round at left tackle. Now you need right tackle, and long-term you need right guard. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, they're going to play him out at right tackle. Daniel Brunskill will be on the last year of his deal and can't stay healthy as he gets closer to 30. Dylan Radins, they're going to give him a chance at guard, but is he a long-term option? He's on the last year of his contract. Sadiq Charles, 1-year deal. The Titans don't have a long-term right guard, and I think Cooper Beebe could sit on the bench, could develop, could play when injuries hit, but could be a long-term starter for the Tennessee Titans on a rookie contract. So that's why I went with Cooper Beebe, the guard, out of Kansas State. Out of Kansas State with my 106. All right, so we got Cooper Beebe at 106. We drafted Chris Braswell at 38. We took Joe Alt at pick number 7. Sticking and picking in this mock draft. I think this is a pretty good haul overall. We hit the offensive line twice, which is clearly the biggest need that the Tennessee Titans have. And then their biggest need on defense, which in my opinion is edge rusher, we hit that as well. But we need to get a linebacker. We need to get a wide receiver. Those things have to happen. We need to add some athletes on day 3 with some high potential as well. So we're going to do all that with the Titans' last 5 picks to cap off today's show. Before we get into it, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. What's the first thing that you would do if you had an extra hour in your day? Would you go for a run, take a nap, read a book? If you had extra time in your life, the question is, what would you use it for? If time was unlimited, what would you do? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to understand what is important to you so that you can make it a priority. And BetterHelp helps you do just that, because therapy can help you find what matters most to you, and you can do more of it. BetterHelp is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ Locked On. Titans fans, let's continue today's 7-round mock draft Monday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Again, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Also want to let you guys know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's on YouTube and it's on Amazon Fire TV. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On, plus coverage of every league from our national shows. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on YouTube and the free Fire TV channels app. All right, guys, we have 5 picks left. Our next pick is going to be number 146. Tough decisions, no doubt. Tough decisions ahead for the Tennessee Titans, but a lot of good options here. I'm going to be honest with you, though. I think I know exactly what I'm. Now, before I tell you, of course, what it is exactly that I'm going to do want to at least look at some of the options that I had available here because, again, tough decisions. All right, Xavier Thomas to get another edge rusher, double down on edge, a guy who may go in the top 100 at this stage would be a good pick. You also have a guy like Kamal Haddon from Tennessee that could be an option. Isaac Garendo, the running back from Louisville, big-bodied power guy with great speed. Kalen King, a guy who people thought could go even higher. But it's time to go wide receiver. I think that ultimately the Titans should try to get 2 wide receivers in the draft. If you pair it with a trade down in the second round, you take a wide receiver either at the trade down spot in the 40s or 50s. Or you don't do that. You go edge, you go D-line, whatever. You go linebacker, then you follow that up with a wide receiver in, the pick that you got from the trade in the 70s or 80s. You follow that up with another late round receiver like we're seeing here. To me, it's time. So I would like 2 wide receivers in this draft. It didn't work out that way. We saw some really good players go before on the D-line that I was interested in. Christian Boyd, Mekhi Wingo, Mason Smith, all good options. But for me, I'm going with a wide receiver that I'm very high on, and I think would be a perfect fit in the Tyler Boyd big slot role, and that is Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's little brother out of Rice. All right, guys, I've talked about Luke McCaffrey before, and I think he would be such a good ad. Is he the most explosive athlete ever? Maybe not, but the guy is incredibly savvy. He's 6'1", as a slot receiver. He is going to be a slot receiver. So again, you think about that Tyler Boyd big slot. The Tennessee Titans played a ton of 2 tight end offense under Mike Vrabel, regardless of the offensive coordinator. 2 tight ends. The Titans now under Brian Callahan are going to be much more of a 3 wide receiver team. So they're going to have 1 tight end, and that means that slot wide receiver has to be able to block. They have to be able to do the dirty work. They have to have size. Kyle Phillips is not going to be a good option for the Titans on early downs, on first and second down when they're in 3 wide receiver. So to me, Luke McCaffrey is perfect for that. You could play Calvin Ridley as your Z. You could play DeAndre Hopkins as your X. Of course, you have Treylon Burks, who can be that big slot receiver as well. But if Burks doesn't work out, I think you take a shot on Luke McCaffrey. He probably replaces Kyle Phillips' spot on the roster, but he's just a bigger guy, a bigger human being. I think Luke McCaffrey makes a ton of sense. I think one thing that you have to keep in mind here is that Luke McCaffrey was originally a quarterback, and then he's only played wide receiver for 2 years now. So getting in and out of breaks, varying his tempo and his routes. Again, all of the, kind of nuances of the position he needs to improve at. But soft hands, going to know what to do, run the right routes, play with toughness, gritty, coach's son. You guys know what I'm saying. But again, 6'1", 6'2", big slot receiver. He's not a freak athlete, but decent athleticism coming from an NFL family. A guy like Luke McCaffrey is just the type of guy who works out in the NFL. So I'm taking Luke McCaffrey at number 146 for the Tennessee Titans. So our next pick, again, tough decision here. I had a lot of good options available that I think make a ton of sense for the Tennessee Titans. To me, it came down to 2 players. It came down to 2 options that really made the most sense. Either Kamal Hadden from Tennessee, the big, lengthy, physical outside corner, or a guy like Jordan Jefferson, who is a big, strong interior defensive lineman from LSU, but impressed with his athleticism at his pro day. So to me, it was either interior defensive line or cornerback here. And again, what's the bigger need for the Tennessee Titans right now? It's interior defensive line. So I went with Jordan Jefferson from LSU. I thought adding to the defensive line and having an interior guy would make the most sense for the Titans right here. Again, Jefferson makes a ton of sense. Run defender, big bodied guy, plays with effort, plays with motor, plays with strength, needs to develop a pass rush plan. But again, he's a run stuffing nose tackles or interior defensive lineman. So who doesn't need to do that, at that stage? I mean, not the most explosive athlete ever, of course, but good enough. I think that's a great pick for the Titans. And then you get into their next selection at pick 227. And I'm not going to even mess around here. I thought this was a pretty quick one for me. I mean, Trey Taylor is available from Air Force. There's offensive tackle help, but I'm going Dominique Hampton, the freaky athletic safety out of Washington. At this point in the draft, this late in the draft, I am taking a shot on athletes. That's what I want. So for me, I'm selecting Dominique Hampton here, not really thinking twice about it. Freak athlete. That's exactly what I want to do. And the board falls perfectly here because the next player that I want to take is another one on defense. And we finally get the safety. We get the interior defensive line. And now we're going to get a linebacker and Trevin Wallace from Kentucky. That is going to be my pick here for the Wallace is a super rangy, explosive athlete, 6'1", 240 pounds. He's a guy who, look, he needs to develop consistency. He needs to be less fooled by misdirection and things of that nature. He's a guy who's very fooled by that stuff. So he needs to work on his awareness, the mental aspect of the game, reading offenses, what's going on. But for a guy that height, weight, speed, he can immediately be a guy on special teams for the Titans. And then if they can develop those mental characteristics and develop more feel for the game, he's a guy who has all of the explosion and all the athleticism. Again, height, weight, speed type guy to make a big impact for the Tennessee Titans. So I love Wallace as an option here. Again, these last few picks in the 7th round, the Titans really should be targeting athletes, in my opinion, and trying to develop those guys. And with Dominique Hampton and Trevin Wallace, that's exactly what they're doing. So we're going to go into the last pick for the Tennessee. I'm going back to the well at offensive tackle here. I'm taking a chance on a very, very toolsy developmental tackle. And hilariously enough, it's another guy out of Maryland, just like Jalen Duncan, but different things with Delmar Glaze. So Glaze is incredibly long. He's got good footwork, good pass protection skills. He just has some technique issues. He oversets, so he goes back too far, basically, when he's pass protecting and allows people to get inside. Doesn't have real aggression on contact. I think that's a lot of things that Glaze really needs technique work, but he has all the athletic skills that you want. So you let Bill Callahan get his hands on a guy like Delmar Glaze, and maybe you can develop him into a really good offensive tackle. Now, there were other options. Maybe going running back was something that I thought about. The Titans haven't added a running back here, and I know they're interested in one. But I don't really like any of the options at running back. Going back to wide receiver, again, not really a big fan of what they got available here. Don't think it's necessary. You can get one of these guys in undrafted free agency. To me, a guy like Delmar Glaze has, again, a ton of athletic ability, just needs some technique work. You get your hands on him, see what he can do with Bill Callahan. Let him and his other Terrapin teammate, Jalen Duncan, let those two dudes battle it out for a roster spot. So I'm going to take Delmar Glaze for the Tennessee Titans with their final pick of this mock draft. So that is going to do it. That is a 7-round mock draft for the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, hope you guys were playing along, thinking about who you would have taken with the options that were available. Made some decisions. There weren't a lot of great options for the Titans at certain spots. I think that's why it's important that they make a trade down to give themselves another pick in the third round to get another great option at linebacker, at edge, at wide receiver. Here's the totality of my draft. Again, Pro Football Focus's mock draft simulator. We got Joe Alt at pick number 7, Chris Braswell at pick 38, Cooper Beebe at pick 106, Luke McCaffrey at 146, Jordan Jefferson at 182, Dominique Hampton at 227, Trevon Wallace at 242, and Delmar Glaze at 252. I think we did a pretty good job there. Added some good stuff to the Titans. Excited to see what you guys have to say about it down below. But more draft content coming your way here on the Locked On Titans podcast. But that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland. And this was Locked On Titans.